Hey y'all, this is Aemok,
Madam Hexe,
and Kaitlyn Kayce.
And this is Trouble Comes in 3. This podcast discusses scandalous topics like communication and sexual health, along with kink, leather, and ethical non-monogamy. If you're under 18, please leave us and check out scarletteen.com. For those over 18, welcome and let's get naughty.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years ago at Florida Power Exchange, I got to host or lead a really interesting panel on body image.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually where I met her.
Yes. Oh, that's how we met.
Yes.
Wow.
That was
It
like
all comes
4
round.
years ago at this point, I think.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years
God.
now. And what I thought was really interesting and the way that I tried to focus that discussion was that everyone can have body image issues, and it's not just the people you think of.
Right.
So something that I had seen a lot was that many panels, everyone up there pretty much looked identical.
Yeah.
And by identical, I mean they looked like me. Generally female, generally fat, height varied, but
Right.
bigger females is what I generally saw on the panel.
Right.
So I really tried to vary the panel. So I had like a guy who was kind of tall and medium build. I had someone who was genderqueer. I had someone who was very skinny. I had someone who was very large. Had a variety of genders and body shapes represented. And it was just such a good conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it's a conversation that we don't have often enough
Yeah.
about body image and the way we see and the way we represent each other. Tonight, we were thinking of doing a discussion about body image, our experience in it, some of the things that people don't think about. Yeah, so that's tonight's topic.
Very broad.
It's a very broad topic.
There may be tears because I believe we're going to talk a little bit about our personal experiences. Now, obviously, we are all women here, so some of our stories will be fairly similar, I imagine, in some of the social standards that we face. And
I will say we do, while we are all female, we have different body styles.
Yes.
Different thicknesses, different heights,
Yes.
or in my case, lacking of
lack
height.
of height. Yes.
I'm very comfortable with my shortness.
It's cute.
It means I'm pocket size and adorable.
Yes.
But we'll be talking about a lot of things, and I acknowledge that we won't be able to talk about every experience.
Right.
But I figure I can share some of the experiences that have been shared with me.
Right. You know,
That
like
kind of thing.
in your case, your leather family. In my case, my boy. Kaitlyn's case, just herself, her friends. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, things like that.
Her humans.
Her humans. You know. On the note, Kaitlyn, do you want to
Oh,
start?
God. I always get the bus. At
We
least the
don't always
the
get
past few times I've gotten the bus.
Well, I feel like we just throw it on you, otherwise we might not go anywhere.
That's fair. So body image is something I've struggled with a lot. And I've been on several different sides of it, from dealing with eating disorders and being very, very thin, but my very, very thin was society's normal,
Okay.
but my body wasn't healthy and I could tell. To being so scared of getting back to that state that I became severely overweight,
Right.
because I was terrified for anything that had to do with losing weight.
Right.
And also, dealing with like the things like I have very big boobs.
You do.
But my boobs sag a lot because they are heavy.
Right.
And it's just the way that the boobs in my family are shaped.
Right. Titties come in all shapes and
They
sizes.
do,
Not all of them
and-
are balloons. Some of them are bananas. Some of them are flapjacks.
Yeah.
Some of them the lumpy. You know.
I have ski slopes.
Ski slopes. Like
Yeah.
that. And I have a great deal of pectoral muscle on my torso, so mine are quite perky. They're large breasts, but they're very perky because I have a strong pectoral muscle. But it doesn't make mine better or less because they're slightly far apart. So I feel like sometimes they're a bit like off because they're a bit far apart.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're great. But
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, and so I mean, I've kind of been all over the place as far as body image has gone. Starting in middle school, leading into high school. Well, actually, no, probably starting in elementary school because I come from a divorced household, and so I would spend my summers between 2 states. And when I was in Kentucky with the good old Southern cooking, I would gain a decent amount of weight before I came back.
Right.
And so it actually became a point where my mother was like, you guys aren't allowed to feed her what you're eating.
Okay.
Those types of things. And so it probably started younger than I remember.
Right.
But it really became an issue in like my 8th grade, 9th grade year that transitioned into high school.
Okay. Which I think it's quite normal when we're developing that most people are uncomfortable with their bodies as we develop.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time when you were particularly ridiculed for how you looked, whether when you were too thin in your opinion or when you were too large in your opinion?
So when I was too thin, in my opinion, looking back, I was still ridiculed for being fat.
Okay.
Because I did a lot of sports.
Right.
I rode horses, I played volleyball, I played soccer, all which caused me to have very thick thighs because I have a lot of muscle on my thighs. And so it was never available for me to be that perfectly skinny.
Sticky.
Yeah, because my thighs would always touch. There was no thigh gap. There would never be a thigh gap. There will never be a thigh gap.
The only time I have a thigh gap is when I open them for someone to eat pussy. That's really the only time I have a thigh
I'm
gap.
straddling your face. There's a thigh gap.
Right. Take a deep breath, darling.
But yeah, and so I mean, I was always teased about my weight. I was always teased about my height because I was particularly tall.
Yeah, you are a tall girl, actually.
I hit my growth spurt very young. So by like 5th, 6th grade year, I was already like standing ahead above everyone else in my class.
Right,
So that, of course, caused there to be... Now I've kind of balanced out. I'm just like slightly above average, standing at like 5'10". And so it's not noticeable unless I actually wear heels.
Which you like to wear heels.
I do like to wear heels. And
I like it when you wear heels.
but it picks you at like perfect boob level when I hug you. But like for me...
You're already at tit level with it. Well, that's extra.
For me, because like I'm a sub. And so that's a kind of touchy point for some men is if their sub's taller than them. And I'm like, doesn't matter when I'm on my knees.
Right. Well, we can touch on that since you brought it up. Male insecurity sometimes with height.
Yeah.
With height. So my slave is a man, and he is not tall. He is only 5'7". And we talked with him before the episode started a little bit on asking him, what's your perspective on some of the body image issues, you know?
We did try to talk him into being on the podcast this week.
And not ready for that
He told me, no, thank you.
He was very polite.
Which he's allowed to do. This was optional for him. But I asked him, I was like, your height, you know, because you're 5'7". How does that treat you? Are you ever insecure about your height in particular? And he said he's not really in our BDSM world, not really so much. It doesn't matter because, like you said, he's typically on his hands and knees or on his knees or sitting on the floor. Yeah. So he's always going to be below me anyway. And I'm also wearing very high heels most of the time. So that works out. But he mentioned on the vanilla world, like if he's on a dating app, women aren't going to message him back because he's not at least 6 feet. You know, and that's a thing. You hear that often, you know. But men also have body issues with their weight as well. It's not just the height.
Yeah.
You know, my boy's quite athletic. Like, he works out, he rock climbs, like, he's nice muscle. He's a good-looking boy, but even he has, when he was younger, he was a heavier boy. And so no matter how much muscle he builds, no matter what, in the mirror, he's always going to see a little chunk. Yeah. Even if it's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I've talked to a lot of guys, particularly in, like, the gay realm.
Right. Because that tends to be where we float.
Yes. We do spend a ton of time in the gay male communities. But there's kind of like 4 ideals.
Right.
There's the bear, there's the otter, there's the like muscle guy, and then there's the super twink.
Right.
And then if you fall in between those,
Kind of undesirable, are you?
You feel undesirable.
Okay.
Like, you might be tall and a medium build and a little hairy, but you're not thick enough to be a bear. You're not thin enough to be an otter. Where do you fall?
Right.
And so I know quite a few guys who struggle because they don't really feel
perfectly in this category.
Perfect. I think a lot of that has to do with like the representation.
Sure. Yeah.
I know for myself growing up, I actually thought, okay, preface this with most of the people in my family are under the height of 5'5".
Yes.
My grandma is 4'11". She will tell you she's 5'2". It's a lie. It's all hair. She has like
gotta poof it up.
Coif of hair, does she?
Yes. Oh yes. She's very proper, and her hair is always done.
Well, she might
like,
as well, yeah.
She sleeps and her hair is done. I don't know how this happens.
Magic.
Something
It's
about
that grandma magic.
It's grandma magic.
Grandma.
Yes.
So my grandmother's only 4'11". My mom is 5'4", 5'5". I'm barely 5'2".
Right, yeah.
So my ideal of height is a little skewed growing up because I was so small.
Everyone was small though.
Right. And my grandfather was only 5'7", or I think he was 5'8".
Okay.
Woohoo,
basketball player.
Yeah, so like 5'8", he's right at that like short quotes for
Short
a guy.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's same as with your boy. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like I always thought he was
super tall.
Yeah.
Super tall.
Like watching him compared to like my little bitty 4'11" grandmother,
Right.
like it was damn near a foot difference.
Yeah, that's true.
But I know that there were times that he was also not comfortable with his height because, you know, for men, stature is a sign of power and things like that. And
strength,
so, like,
virility, all this old school kind of animal thoughts.
that old, lizard brain thought.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, I'm short for a German woman. I'm only 5'7". Like my boy and I have the same height. It's kind of weird. But
That's why he's on his knees so often.
yes. Also because I need a seat.
That's true.
But
Yeah, right.
That's how me and you like.
That's how you
really formally
connected.
met.
Yeah.
Connected.
But so I'm short for a German woman. I mean, the women in my family are a little bit short, actually, to be honest. Like, 'cause my mother's shorter than I am, my sister's shorter than I am.
I didn't realize your mom was shorter than you.
Yeah,
But I guess she's
in between.
Yeah,
Well, that's where I get it from. Yeah, no, she's in between my sister and I on height. My sister's the smallest out of us height wise, and I'm taller. My aunt used to be my height. My aunt is paralyzed, so obviously now she's wheelchair height. But before her accident, she was actually probably a little taller than me. The men in my family, there's no. The shortest man in my family is 6'2". Like this is they're all oak trees, you know. So I'm a Lilliputian in comparison, and it didn't really bother me the height difference in Germany. The height, and in Germany also, like I'm a curvy woman. I'm not thin. I wouldn't necessarily categorize myself as like grossly overweight or
You're not
fat. I'm like kind of, I would say I'm an average, but I have an hourglass shape to my body, so it appears visually more proportionate, so I can get away with a little more. The jeans, not so much. But in Germany, like, it's not really that kind of focus on what you look like as much. Like, people notice, but, you know, if a man or woman has a bit of a tummy, you know, a man is expected to have a beer belly by 30. It's like kind of a mark of adulthood, is to kind of, you know, we drink a lot of beer, so obviously you're having a beer belly.
Thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like, it's a normal thing. Of course you drink 3 liters a day. Of course you're going to have a beer belly.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I came to the States that I felt acutely chunky. I felt very aware of my body in a way that I hadn't before, and I didn't know how to handle it at first.
Yeah.
A lot like Kaitlyn mentioned, I never didn't eat. I didn't really have, well, I suppose I was a binge eater, so it's technically eating disorder. But it wasn't that I didn't eat and then binged. I would eat normally and then go crazy. But I would compulsively exercise afterwards. That was my issue, trying to maintain a particular shape to my body.
Yeah.
Ha.
Go ahead. No, you go.
So it's really funny because when I first met you, I was like, holy hell, her hourglass is fucking perfect.
I was about to say the
and
same thing.
she's so thin and so pretty.
I was
and I
about to
can
say
never
the same
compete with
exact
that because she's also really tall even without her shoes.
Yeah.
Like,
That's because you're small.
But like that, I was about to say the same thing. Like when like I saw you, I was like, that is like the ideal
That's the
physique.
shape. Was
Like
that-
that's
okay.
the shape. And for me, because that is.
Drink more champagne.
But for me, because like that is like when I thought about a healthy body type, womanly shape,
yeah.
for me, that's what I thought of. And so when I saw you, I was like, that's it. And then I didn't know that when I first saw you that you would then be helping me get back into shape because like for
because we're gonna run a half marathon together.
we are.
Yay!
But
Send help.
right. But like that's the thing though, is because you're talking about like with the binging and stuff, like for in the compulsive exercise, that's my thing. But my thing is I paired it with not eating. And so there were plenty of times where I'd go on a run for like 2 hours and pass out and then wake up and be like, oh, okay, continue my run type deal. And so it was after like I got away from that and started to recover, it was I can't exercise because every time I tried to finally be like, okay, I feel good, I can get back into the gym, I'm eating regularly. As soon as I started exercising, it was almost like a trigger point for me.
Right.
Like that's when I would become more obsessed with how much I was eating and that I was eating too much, or with my weight and things like that. And then I would exercise too much, and so I'd scare myself and I would stop. Right. And that's how I ended up going from what is underweight for my body type to overweight for my body type because I was so scared to do anything else.
Right.
And so it's been something we've been working back into slowly.
Right. Finding a sustainable, happy way to do that, yeah.
Even as a child, so I showed you guys a picture of me from
Yeah.
high school.
So tiny.
So all the way up until like the beginning of college, I was incredibly underweight. Like I just couldn't. I could eat an entire like pound and a half of kielbasa, and an entire box of macaroni and cheese, and devour it all and not gain an ounce.
Right.
But as my health started failing, I started putting on more pounds.
Right.
And so in my head, like I have this. I also was a dancer, but at what is really a healthy weight for my like. When you look at my body and it's a healthy weight, I had an instructor tell me that I was too fat.
Yeah.
And basically it was because I have tits and ass.
Yeah.
And that's not a desirable thing when you're doing...
It's like ballet.
And it was.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to start... This was in high school, or in college.
Right.
I was getting ready to go into point.
Right.
I had already advanced through all of the lower levels. I was ready to go into point. And she literally was like, absolutely not. You're too fat. And I was like...
But I'm not.
Excuse me? And it's because, like, when I look back at it, I had a soft tummy in that I did not have a six-pack of abs.
Right.
But it wasn't... I didn't even have, like, a beer belly.
Right.
Like, it was just soft.
Right.
And I had very large breasts. And I had a giant ass.
Right.
Because... my front and back is endowed.
Well, you need balance, otherwise
Yes,
you fall on your face,
balance,
wouldn't you?
Exactly. But it was really weird because my body was at a healthy point, but the only way she was going to allow me to go forward was to drop a significant amount of weight.
What was I do? Cut off my tits.
Yeah. But like I see that in all sorts of sports. Like for me, when I was young, I would horseback ride. And I did English, and a big part of like English writing is posture and the body shape while you're writing.
And the hats.
And the hats.
I love
the hats and the little
always
cocktails.
loved the hats.
Yes. The hats and the gloves, like, I blame that for me loving to dress up. But,
I did hunter seat as well.
Yeah. And so one of the big things is you gotta get rid of that beach ball. It's what she would call my stomach. And so, like, I was required to wear form-fitting clothes so she could see. And so I'd be riding along and she'd be like, suck that beach ball in. I shouldn't be able to see it. She gave me an exercise regimen to do. I was in 4th grade at the time. And so it was one of those things where it kind of had that, she was very, very hard on me. I hear it in my head to this day. If I sit on a horse, I have that overly exaggerated, no, I have that, well, that too. But I have that overly exaggerated back arch, like all of the things that are probably like to the point where like I sat down for a trainer after like not riding for like 9 years and he was like, can you teach me your posture? Like,
yeah, sucking your beach ball apparently. That's
right,
the,
sucking
that's
your
the
beach
hint,
ball. That's
guys.
the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Ponytail to ponytail and sucking the beach ball.
There you go.
But so like things like that. There's certain ways that even as kids, instructors talk to us to try to get us to like remember and condition us, but they can start a very unhealthy spiral into adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does this apply to kink life?
I would love to say that it doesn't matter and that everybody and every body has no problem being in the kink community or the fetish community because there's something for everybody, but that would probably be a lie.
It is.
Yeah.
However, there's no representation of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, so I have been doing this for 20-ish years.
This being
Kink.
Okay. Like now.
Fetish related things. Right. I had my first like kinky relationship in 2001.
Okay.
Yes, you were like 3.
I was 4.
Oh my god, was she really?
She was. Oh yes, I had that
Are you
realization.
old enough to drink? We've been giving you champagne.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes. So
Get out of here right now.
Kaitlyn was 4, but I was 18 and very legal to do these things. And so
I was 10.
had
That's a little better. I was right behind you.
by a decade and a
Less than a decade.
just barely. So I had my first kinky relationship. It was private. It was just me and my boyfriend. Mm-hmm. He's a doll. I still adore him to this day. I eventually married him at one point.
Yeah. Good enough.
Yeah. He was a doll. But he kind of opened my eyes to other people do this.
Okay. It was not just you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like, because I had been tying myself up to masturbate since I was significantly young.
As we discussed in a prior episode.
Yes.
Right. So this was like my first chance to play with somebody and like start to have that like what I often call like the vanilla kinky sex, the like hair pulling and like ties, the gateway drugs.
Butter.
Those things are totally fine.
Oh, we love those things. Don't get me
lots
wrong.
of people
love it.
stop
They're
there.
a basis
Yes.
for more if you would like to.
If you tell me you're into hair pulling, I will still say this is vanilla sex. Rough sex is not necessarily kinky sex. Let's just define that real quick.
But we started like a little bit of bondage, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Dipping my toes in the water.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And because I was magically an adult and shortly thereafter had moved out, I had way more freedom to use this thing called the internet.
Yes.
Which to my generation was still kind of new.
Right, yes.
But I didn't see people who were similar to me.
Right.
I saw very, very fit, because at this time I was also still like 100 to 110 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was very tiny. I had just hit 5 foot. Like,
Woo.
yeah, it was
I did it. Woo.
great success. I'm over 5 foot. But I wasn't seeing anyone. And it was a decade later that I finally started seeing and like exploring it more like intensely and trying to connect with the community. It's about 8-9 years. But then I didn't think there was, by this point, I'm significantly heavier. Mm-hmm. I'm still bendy as fuck, but I'm significantly heavier. And there's no one out there who looks like me being tied up.
Right.
Which was really my first love and kink.
Oh, the rope world. It is my love, but it makes me angry sometimes.
It makes me so angry.
Because we had a lovely rope date last night, actually.
We did.
We did. And we actually talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, and like, so I really wanted to, and I would see these pictures and these gorgeous, you know, K and P, which isn't a new thing back then. And, you know, if you search like fetish bondage, you're gonna see a very particular type of body image. It's going to predominantly be female, predominantly be very thin, not necessarily fit.
No, yeah.
Just
thin.
very thin.
Yeah. Borderline bony.
Oftentimes borderline bony and very pretty.
Yes.
Like
ultra femme,
in the
done up.
Super femme, very, very pretty in conventional senses.
Yes.
I could never be that. I'm not tall. I'm not thin. My body is a little saggy because I have genetic disorder.
Right.
So my boobs have never really been perky since they got over a size C. That just wasn't an option.
Right.
As a big girl, no one's going to want to tie me. And it was a while before I started seeing someone like me.
I actually wondered when I was first getting into rope if my body weight could be supported in rope.
Same.
You know what I mean? Because, you know, I had the luxury of growing up in a country where I had more personal access to these things than you did. Because, you know, you had to, like, scour the dark corners of the internet for, like, a digital photo that took, 3 minutes to load and, pixel by pixel.
Correct.
I could go to street fairs. I could go to these events and private parties and kind of found my way in through that underground that way. So I could see it in person, and I would say that it would be a lie if I said, oh, yeah, I saw big girls getting tied up. Not really, because, again, primarily when this was being done, it was for photographing. It wasn't necessarily when I was there seeing it. It wasn't necessarily as a form of play. It was a form of art.
Yep.
And so even then I thought, and, I was, at this point, I was not, like, I wasn't, like, huge. I was never been really huge, but I was like, I don't know if even I can be airborne like that. You can, by the way.
Yes.
Anyone can.
Absolutely
Enough rope,
can.
you can do anything.
And I've actually, like, during my time in rope, I have flat out had people tell me that I can't be suspended because of my size.
No,
Joke's on
you
I do it to
can't be
myself.
suspended because you don't know how to tie somebody like
Yes,
me.
right.
That doesn't mean I can't do it. It means you can't do it.
When I was interested in self-suspension, partially because it's amazing, and I explicitly have a kink for pushing bodies, like pushing my own body and seeing how far I can push it. So self-suspension was this, like, it's such
Crowning
an
glory.
intense, like, you have to be so mentally into it and physically into it. You're doing all of the thing. I was literally told there's no way I could possibly do it. I'm just too fat for that.
Watch me. Now
And-
I have to do it twice.
And I had someone, I got to perform with Grey Dancer, who is this really, really awesome rope guy. He does wonderful performances, and I got a chance to perform.
Yay.
And when I came home, super fucking excited, and was like, oh my god, guess what? Grey Dancer accepted. His bottom had gotten, like, trapped in customs and could not get through from Canada. And he was performing at a local event. I had tweeted to him, and I was like,
I'll do it.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And he had selected me. The individual looked at me and was like, but does he know you're fat?
Do you know that my foot is up your ass right now?
Do you know? I mean,
Like,
yes,
Yeah. I was like,
he knows,
I don't hide my size or my shape.
right?
Pretty open about it, in fact.
Like your Twitter has your whole body as a photo.
Yeah, I'm naked on my
your
Twitter
whole,
profile.
The whole body, yeah.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah, definitely naked. And that was from someone who had previously been intimate with.
Right. Oh, it's even
And
worse.
like, you know, those were people who knew my rope skills. By that point, I had been doing rope for 5 or 6 years, teaching and things like that.
Right.
Not including all of the years of practice and learning before.
By yourself, right.
But you know, it wasn't until I saw some other people get suspended that I was like, oh, I can.
Watch me. Yeah.
And then it was, I am lucky that I have a fuck you personality where I'm
Right,
like,
yeah.
oh, you tell me I can't do this thing, particularly if it involves my body size as the restrictor. Fuck you. Let me show you how awesome I can do it.
Right. Yeah, you are like, you know, because I could see where something like that could really set someone with less grit back a lot.
Oh, yeah.
and so I'm the opposite of you, and I am that someone.
That's me. She says, that's me.
And that's where I come back in. No, because I had always had an interest in rope because I love it. It's gorgeous. I like the way rope smells, and so I was like, it kind of makes sense. And so when I first entered, I was much skinnier than I am now. I wasn't at my unhealthiest weight, but I was teetering that kind of healthy weight, but not sure how to maintain it. And I still felt like there's no way I could ever be tied or taken up in the air because I'm too fat. And so I went on like that for 2 years, and my first night at one of the local dungeons, I met this wonderful female rope top, and she was like, you want to know the difference between suspending a super skinny person and suspending a super fat person? The amount of rope you use.
Right. Let's be honest, a rope is used to haul boats, okay? If you're
Right.
telling me you can't suspend a person, but it could suspend a boat, it sounds like you just don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, but
There are considerations. It
There
might
are.
be a health concern.
Yeah.
But those are things you talk about during negotiation.
Right, but a thin person can have problems too.
yeah, but like for me, it was kind of refreshing to hear it, but also terrifying. So it was like, okay, well maybe I can do rope, but I can only do groundwork. I can never go in the air. And so I got a little bit more comfortable with it. And then a really cool book came out that someone suggested to me, and it was actually advertised for free. And it is Better Bondage for Every Body. And I was like, okay, it's a free Kindle download. Why won't I get this?
No, it's free, why not?
And
Why
so
not with
I
exploring?
downloaded it, and there was particularly a part on body diversity, whether it was the size of the body or missing limbs from the body. And one of the things that stuck with me since was a bigger bottom, and who was explaining how they wanted to be put up in a tie, or the partner they were tying with wanted to put them up in a tie. And she broke down crying in the middle of it because she looked down and all she could see was her fat squeezing through the ropes. And they go, Don't you understand? I tie you in this way to make your body look like this because I like it. And like that's what really stuck with me. And I'm going to get a little teary-eyed. It was like a turning point for me of I can be beautiful even with fat on my body. And so like
you're not beautiful despite fat. That's what people say. Oh, you're pretty for a fat girl. No, you're just pretty. Period.
Yeah. I'm so fat. No, you're gorgeous. I didn't say I wasn't gorgeous.
I didn't say I wasn't ugly. I just said that I was fat. On that note, I love it when I do a rope bottom that's got some squish, and I love it when they look like a ham and twine. I don't know. I know it's maybe a disrespectful thing to say, but I'm just kind of like, I just want to lick your salty leg. I don't know.
Yeah. For me, I look like a pop can of biscuits, and
who doesn't love biscuits?
Our partner goes, "You're a can of biscuits I want to eat." I was like, "Oh God!"
His favorite meal is biscuits and gravy. Right? You're in the right train, darling.
Right. Yes. But and so I guess for me, that's where like we talked about how like body image in lifestyle. For me, it became less of an issue for me when I entered the lifestyle because, especially in our local community, once I got off the internet and into the actual local community, there were so many different body types and a lot of bigger body types.
A lot.
And I'll never forget the first time going into the dungeon, aside from the amazing rope scene I had after she was like, "No, fuck you, I just have to use more rope, it's fine."
Right.
Was people stripping down to nothing with bigger bodies that I personally would have been embarrassed if I was them and tried to do it.
Right.
Because of where I sat with my own body and with where it was.
Right.
I thought they were gorgeous. But I was like, I could never do that.
It was their confidence and their comfort that was attractive. It was the confidence
and the comfort, and they were free to be themselves, and they would have the biggest fucking grins on their face. And that's when I kind of started taking a turning point of, maybe I don't have to hate my body, because obviously they get to have these dynamics and this type of play with that body type.
But what kind of...
FYI, I love your body. It's really pretty.
Oh, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So to burst the bubble of that.
But it's true.
Yeah.
You need to do it.
So, I struggle, especially when I'm going out to an event.
Mm-hmm.
Like, crap, we had a date last night, and I had, like, changed clothes 3 times before I came over.
Oh, no!
And we've been... Yeah, for like forever.
She got in the driveway. She goes, "Does this look okay? Do I look presentable? Can I go inside?" I was like, "You look fucking hot. Go inside and have
what you were doing out there."
Yes, that was absolutely what I was doing.
Yes.
I saw you two out there, and I was like, "Oh, they're just standing." Like, why are they just standing out there?
I was panicking about my outfit.
I was like, "You look amazing."
Just for like a date with my girlfriend, or going out, particularly when we're going out to an event or to a dungeon or a play space.
It is time to turn up.
Yes.
Right. Which is hilarious because...
Did you normally wear a uniform?
Right!
Okay, wait, I was like, stop.
So, for years I wore whatever I felt like wearing. Mm-hmm. And it was terrible. Now I have a uniform because my leather family does follow a uniform tradition.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've got boots, belts, blue jeans, white shirt. Mm-hmm. Now, because I am a femme, female, in a gay male house, I do get a little bit of play. So I can...
Which is nice that they modified that for you.
Yeah, they gave me the modification.
You were a whole learning curve for them, I imagine.
For my clothing, if we go to an event, I do have some flexibility for if I want to dress up, I can wear a blue bottom and a white top. So I have my super cute, like, vintagey sailor dress that's so blue and white. Gotcha. I have a TARDIS blue long skirt with a bow in the back that I can wear with like a white top that has like floral velour on it. So I do have some flexibility for if I want to dress up or whatever. But even then, even if I don't do that and I just do my straight like uniform, I am overwhelmingly self-conscious about everything.
Like the fit of the shirt and the pants and everything.
The pants. You know, how does it look? Prime example, tonight we did a thing that we dressed up a little bit for, and it did require me to be in uniform. Right. For about 20 minutes before we did that thing, I was panicking because the fit of my tank top today, I like tank tops that kind of like lay smoothly.
Right, not baggy in bits.
Right.
Yeah.
I like it form-fitting, especially if I'm going to wear my leather vest.
Yes. Right.
Because it lays prettier.
Yeah.
However... because of my roles, the side was slipping up a little bit, and it was driving me bananas.
Yeah.
You looked amazing, by the way.
You did look super cute.
I wore it on with a little bit of glitter.
I
Yes,
see
I
the
saw it.
sparkle.
I was like, the sparkle, the sparkle.
It's fancy.
I like it.
But I will tell you, getting dressed, I will say having a uniform does help to some degree.
Well, it takes the question out of what am I wearing,
Yes.
but it does not take the anxiety of how do I look in what I'm wearing.
Right. But I will get naked like that. Because in my clothes, I feel significantly...
More aware of yourself, is that it?
I do have a body that I think, like you said, other people judge my body. And some of them judge my body in a negative way. I realize not everyone, but some people do.
Sure.
There are definitely people out there who would look at my body because of the way it's shaped, the way it's cut, and would be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're naked. Or I can't believe you're wearing a bikini at the beach if, I went to a public non-lifestyle beach.
Right.
I have had people actually ask that. But if I can get naked, there's nothing for you to judge about it except for my body. Fuck off.
Right.
You can't say, oh, she's wearing clothes that are too tight, or she's...
For me, I have a similar issue. I can't tell you how many meltdowns I've had trying to leave the house, to the point where our partner has, like, almost, like, lost his shit, because he's like, you've changed 5 times, you're crying for, like, the third time. My thing is, I find it easier to find my body prettier. I don't necessarily always get naked, but in, like, just bottoms, or, like, in a bra and bottoms, because there's nothing to squeeze out of place.
But, so, we're talking about our tummies a little bit. Boys have the same problems. You are not immune.
No.
You are not immune. You have the same tummy issues, the same arm and thigh issues, the same booty issues, the same titty issues. We all have. But let's talk a little bit about our intimate details, because I feel like sometimes it gets overlooked when we talk about body image. We tend to just talk about the general shape of the entire body.
Right.
And this is a sexy podcast. It's a sex education podcast, I should say. It is still sexy, but also a thoughtful one.
Or at least we try.
We try. So let's start with the boys, shall we? Because he's hiding in his room over there.
He's praying we don't ask him any questions.
He's praying so hard. We'll say it because I know it's something that people... We make jokes about it sometimes, because you're a bit of a size queen, so we make this joke a lot. But penis size.
Yeah.
If you are a penis owner that enjoys using your penis, there is a great deal of societal pressure to have a penis of a certain size, certain girth, a certain virility, certain shades.
If you have an email and look in your spam folder, check how many things are there.
How many penis-enhancing products you could have at your
Fingertips.
They don't work.
Nope, you will not grow 2 feet in a day.
Don't do that. Don't inject anything in that. Anyway,
Oh.
I don't know what to say on this. This is very much like... I understand why people put because a man's manhood and his status in the world is somehow equated to this weird piece of flesh that dangles between his thighs. This is an internal patriarchal piece of shit. Not sure what else we can do to say on that.
It's super, super common, though, because even, like, our partner is very well endowed.
Right.
But he still has that...
That's because his hands are baseball mitts, and in his own hands it looks small.
Yeah.
But then in our
Stand
two
beside the little one and...
Right. We need 2 hands for it. He has 1 baseball mitt around it.
Yeah.
Of course it looks small to him.
It's something that, because he is more of a very masculine presenting man, very, very tall, very,
He's also
very
a big man, so for
like-
him it's probably proportional. It just looks scary to us.
Right. And but it's something that he does get concerned with, even though it's like, but literally that thing might rip me open.
Like, do you hear her struggling on it? It's fine. But that's not to say that a large penis is superior.
I have had really, really enjoyable interactions with people who had very tiny penises as well.
Yes.
And there are people who have micro penises.
And it's not just because they're grateful. I kind of hate when people say that. Oh, he's got a small penis. He'll be better level because he's just grateful. No, okay. It's like, oh, well, the ugly or the fat girl is grateful to have anyone, so they're gonna be more rambunctious or whatever. No.
them.
Right. And
But
it's the
don't.
same they don't.
But
Don't
But
fuck
don't.
those people. But
Yeah.
yeah, a small penis. I mean,
I find that people who think their dick is big tend to be very like, it's going to do all the work.
No.
Whereas someone who is more humble about their penis size, or who is concerned about their penis size, or has a smaller penis and they like acknowledge like, yep.
Like medically smaller, like
smaller.
micro penis or something like that.
Or it's not as thick.
Or not as hard.
Or doesn't, or it's tilt.
Right.
People who like own that or even are like concerned about it tend to pay more attention
how they're using
to all of the other things that involve sex.
Right.
I will tell you, one of the best hand jobs I ever got was from someone who had a fairly small penis.
Right.
Like, it was amazing.
Attention to detail.
Because he knew that it's not just about sticking the dick in the hole and it's going to be great.
Right.
They understand that there's more to it.
And in Kaitlyn's case, a penis that's too large is very uncomfortable. It hurts.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not every canal is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there's average sizes and depths and things like that. But everyone's stretch is a little different. Everyone's pelvic shape is a little different. My pelvic bone, the cylinder that the vagina sits through, is actually quite narrow. You know, so fisting, like, you have small paws, so we could maybe get your paws in there. But like
goals,
like a man's hand, like a larger hand, or even like I have large hands for a woman, the bone won't allow that kind of thing. So don't think that if you have a smaller penis that you're suddenly disqualified from being a fantastic lover, or that you are for some reason less of a person.
There are also guys who have really large penises, whether they be thick or long.
Like,
yeah, the girth. Oh,
I'm a girth girl, so
I do like my stretch.
But there are people who are on the larger side who are also very self-conscious because
it's too big and it hurts, or
there's the expectation of like, oh my god, it's going to be amazing and da da da, and they're like,
I don't really know what to do with it.
Well, like, okay, but there's a lot of it. Guys on the larger side also have, and there's a lot of, I've met guys who have like dicks the size of a baby's arm holding an apple.
Right.
That people just have the expectation that they're this giant slut who just fucks everything. Some of them, yes.
Sure.
Not all of them. But it's the expectation that like, oh, you just fuck everything that walks up to you.
Right, but how promiscuous I am doesn't depend on the size of my cock, necessarily. I mean, just like, it doesn't depend on
size of my tits.
The size of my titties or, you know, anything like that. And there's with titties in mind, there's definitely like an over-sexualization in the modern world of breasts. Like, I can wear a V-neck, but I have my breasts are only a double D, so I'm the tiny one out of the group. A V-neck t-shirt, but they're perky, so it can look just like a V-neck. But if aemok or Kaitlyn wear it because their breasts are larger and they tend to sag, it will look overtly sexier in a It
looks like I'm trying to like.
It looks like you're trying to look a bit
like
racy,
like smush trying to. What is that, like?
The cleavage?
Yes.
I love it. You did a cleavage
smother.
Like
smother. I couldn't think of the word, but I got stuck. So, the boobs and
it's a no.
By the way, I am only having one
She's
glass.
She's only had one glass of champagne, and this is fabulous.
Yeah. But
no, for sure. And like for me, I was a C cup by the time I reached 6th grade.
Yeah, me too. I had large breasts growing up as well.
I didn't.
They sprung on you.
And like when I was 23, I went from a C to a triple D.
Yeah. And you're like, what happened? My health.
And like, so I'm probably the least experienced sex wise out of the three of us. But I was labeled the high school slut. Everyone had fucked me by then. I was a virgin until I was like 21.
Because you had large breasts.
But it was because I have large breasts and large butt and like, but it was always that expectation of, well, your body is this way, so obviously you're a slut.
Right. Sorry you think so poorly of me. Or you know what? Sorry you think so poorly of yourself, okay?
Joke's on you. Now I do sex for work. Well, sex-related things for work.
Which does not have anything to do with her titties. Her titties did not dictate that. That's something she chose to do.
On the same, like, so we all do have
larger breasts
on the larger side.
Yeah.
But women who are on the smaller side also have a ton of issues.
Right.
They're called masculine. They're,
not womanly enough.
They're not feminine.
The stupid pencil test.
What is a pencil test?
So in middle school, can you hold a pencil
disappeared.
Can you hold a pencil under your breast, or if you
shall I get a wine bottle, darling?
Can you squish your boobs together so that your cleavage can hold a pencil. And women with smaller breasts cannot push them together that far because
mine are far set. Look, they got like quite a hand.
That was
part of
the
the
Red
ideal in the
Sea.
80s.
Yeah,
The far set.
I have the very far set as well.
I have, yours are closer together.
Mine are closer together, but
Mine are
again,
like a whole
because-
palm in between mine. But again, they're sitting right on my pectoral, and when I flex, they jump like this.
and because of my collagen issue,
You guys can't see all the titties out right now.
They're all out.
the titties are out, and you cannot see them. Oh, your titties are bruised. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
Don't be sorry.
There'll be some Patreon content later on, I feel. So stick around for that. But yeah, go ahead, Jules.
But yeah, so, you know, women who have smaller breasts are the same thing, you know. They're instead
Ironing board, little boy, that kind of thing.
The Itty Bitty Titty Committee, does anyone know what that is?
Yes,
but I was about to say, I was like, are you old enough to know what that is?
I am. So I will just say that I have a love for the aesthetics of smaller breasts and smaller nipples. I love all boobs, don't get me wrong. All boobs are great. I love them all equally. All titties are valid. But I have a specific, like, aesthetic attraction to them. I think partially is because I don't... They're super cute. I think partially is because I've always wanted them because I've always been so teased for having larger breasts. And it's kind of like that you always want what you don't have.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, if I could, like, take my titties and give them to a small titted girl who wants them.
Like titty
like,
Venmo.
Right? Like titty Venmo. I'll give you a little bit.
To you, and I'll give you a little, you know, we pass it around.
I've legitimately been making the joke, if I could figure out how to do a titty transplant, I would share my breast tissue with someone else.
That's what we're saying.
Like,
some tit to you. Yeah. There you go, girl. Like, even you out a little, whatever.
Have some.
On the breast side, something that most guys, I don't think, talk about it as much. They generally talk about the overall size, but the areola and nipple size.
Mine's like a pancake.
That's literally why I don't like to be naked.
Same.
And see, I fucking love you guys'
So
nipples.
my baby girl has large breasts, but she has the cutest, tiniest,
so
little,
tiny,
the
so
tiniest
tiny.
little areolas, and I'm like, they're perfect.
Yeah.
I have flying saucers, is what I call mine.
Like, yours are
pepperoni-
gorgeous.
Oh,
but
I hate it.
like, and this is a testament to you always want what you don't have. I feel like yours sit very well and very pretty. So like, even with the way yours just sit, you can see the whole arrow. Mine's just kind of like a tube that points down, so you can only see really like the top half.
Mine's like,
see, I love yours.
I think they're a bit.
I love
they
that.
go down to here as well.
No, they
right,
don't.
they're right
They're
here.
like right there.
It's hard to see from up here.
They're just like right here. They're not.
We'll take a picture for you later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patreon
but-
content.
Right, Patreon content.
But
Check out my Dust Effect.
that and another thing that like a lot of I don't think guys realize is the difference in the size of each of your tits. Because I will tell you, oh my god,
This one's bigger.
my left one is like
My left one's bigger, too.
My left one's like a triple D, and my right one's a double D. And if I buy a bra that fits my left one,
Is
there
your
is
right one's bigger?
like a visible gap in the cup of my bra, or I have extreme like squishage.
I had a friend growing up that, like, as late high school through college, who had a dramatic difference in her breast size.
Ah, yeah.
And so she had like a
Corrective
C
surgery,
on,
did she? Or did
she
she get
didn't.
to-
She was too young.
I gotcha.
Because we're really weird about that stuff. But so she had like a C on one side, but then an A on the other.
Yeah, my mom was the same way.
And so she ended up, through those years, she got the same prosthetics that they use for women or anyone who has had
breast cancer.
breast cancer
I
and had
gotcha.
removal. They make prosthetic breasts
To sit in the bra
to sit in the bra
even it
so that
out.
you can have. But she was petrified of like what's going to happen when I take my shirt off for someone and I basically, she's like, I have one boob.
Right, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how is that going to be Like,
Yeah. And that's
people
a concern.
don't realize that that's a thing. Like,
Yeah.
there are
There can
way
be
more
extreme
people.
differences.
I didn't know that it was a thing. And
Bodies are
actually-
asymmetrical.
Yes.
Everyone's hands are a little different size, but
that, and like for me, a big part of it was my mother, because so my mother has very similar breast shape to me, where it's more kind of like a tube.
Right.
I call them udders because like if I'm bent over, they just like a long thin.
It's okay. My alpha calls them mud flaps. So.
Yeah.
that's
But,
hilarious because you're a biker.
For me, it's,
No.
I always saw my mother,
We're
and
gonna pick you an honor.
her breasts were always so perfectly shaped and sit so well, and no matter how much weight she gained or lost, like they sat very well. And I was always so upset because I was like, why couldn't I have inherited that from her?
Right.
My family has a joke that I got my boobs from my dad because apparently my dad's side of the family is the more well endowed breast.
Right,
I did
right.
not know that my mother originally had very small breasts and a very large difference in her
Right.
breast size. She had
Corrective
surgery, but it was one of those things where I did not know that until I was 20. And so I spent
you grew
all
up
this
thinking
time.
you were
I grew
fucked
up
up.
thinking I was fucked up, and my mom was like, Oh no, sweetie.
My
Like,
mother and my sister have very little breasts. I got my large tits from my grandmother because my mother now has synthetic.
Thank you,
breasts.
Oma.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks,
Oma.
Oma.
My mother, it was like her 50th birthday gift to her, and she got herself a new set of tits because she had small tits. They were always perky, but you know she was 50. She rarely wore a bra. Eventually, gravity kicks in. The skin is looser as you get older. So she thought, you know what, a gift to herself for her 50th birthday. She'd get them lifted and filled in, and she's happy, so that's fine. But she didn't tell me she got them done. I went to pick her up at the airport when she came to visit me, and I was like, "Ah!" You need to prep people for that, okay? Because it was dramatically. It wasn't like she got a couple cc's, you know, to perk them up. No, they were dramatically different, and I was not ready. They weren't settled. They were mean. They were aggressive. They just didn't want to hug her. It was terrible. But then there's a lot of women that do go the opposite way as well. They'll get reductions.
I wanted from like 6th or 7th grade on when like I learned that was a thing that could be done because someone told me I should get one.
Like nicely, like hey,
no, kids. I mean, like
kids are assholes.
Kids are assholes. Because I was accused in 5th grade of stuffing my bra, and then 6th grade they're like, "Oh no, those are real. You should really look into getting them like shrunk." Because at the time I was a little bit skinnier and they protruded very far, and I looked disproportionate because I did not have as amazing.
Everyone looks disproportionate at that age. You're all like awkward zebra giraffe things.
Yes. But it was one of those things where like I really wanted breast reduction, especially as they continued to grow. Like 10th grade, I was like, no, I have to get rid of them because no matter how skinny I got, they stayed.
Yeah.
And so
they just sagged a little bit because they lost some volume a bit.
And like the way I was with them was like, that's more fat that I need to get rid of.
Right.
Like I definitely want it. Like now, like there's still times where I'm like, I really wish I could just get them lifted because I've tried.
And eventually, if it's something you want, you can do
Exactly.
that. There's nothing wrong with cosmetic or corrective surgery. We want to be clear on that. If that is something that you're doing for yourself because you would like that and that will make you happy, then go for it. You know, it's your body.
Don't do it for someone else.
Yeah,
right.
I eventually plan on it
but
for medical and cosmetic reasons because of my collagen issues.
Yeah. Right, but definitely make sure when you're doing it that you are doing it for yourself. Because if you're continuing to do it,
you'll never be happy with
on
yourself.
other people's expectations, you will have to just do more and more and more. So definitely, we're all about it if that's what you truly want. This is America, so it's expensive, so good luck. But, you know, as you will. But make sure you're doing it for you. The right reasons is what I'm saying.
Talking about plastic surgery. Let's go downstairs.
Let's go downstairs. Let's do
I like
this.
downstairs.
I think we all do, generally.
We do. But there is a unique surgery that apparently people get or can get.
And it's becoming more popular.
It's becoming like a cosmetic thing. It's like very...
So, people talk about augmenting their breasts or their stomach or their legs.
Booties and their lips.
But something that's really become popular is...
designer vagina.
It's become more of a fad in the last decade or so for people to start customizing their genitalia.
Mm-hmm.
Genital augmentation, reconstruction, vanity, cosmetic surgery, whatever you want to call it.
So we did a Google search for genital cosmetic surgery.
Yes.
Just to get an idea of what
other options there are.
Yeah. What does Google say about this? We didn't include gender or body part other than genital.
Genital, yeah.
The entire first page was strictly about all of the different things you can do to the vagina and related orifices and fleshy bits.
Right.
Even in like the bottom of the search, where it's like related searches to, every single one of them was about changing the shape, the fullness, the size of the vulva, vagina, mons, all of those bits. The whole 9 yards. And it got really, really detailed. Mm-hmm. And that was just the first page.
I am a little surprised there wasn't more for penises. I mean, I know that penis owners often think that they're king of the world and penises are perfect. But you'd think like, you know, like adult circumcision or some kind of like if your balls are very saggy, something to give them a lift, you know, but something.
I feel like most of the ads for it don't focus around surgery, though. They focus around like the penis enhancement pills.
Right,
Like,
because they
take
don't,
this and
because
you can go.
surgery might damage something, and Lord forbid we accidentally ruin a penis's performance. Never mind that a lot of these genital surgeries for the vulva destroy sensation permanently, could cause nerve damage, scarring, all kinds of things. But
Kind of
that's not important.
fertility and things like that.
Absolutely, but that's not important.
Absolutely not.
No.
A
It's worth the
lot
risk.
of the ideals of what a woman's downstairs should look like
Right.
comes from porn.
100%.
Yes.
When you look at like 70s and early 80s, it was like hella big bush,
Right.
really full, really fluffy. Then you get to like the 90s and everyone, bare shaved all the way around.
Started waxing our assholes and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, and bleaching our assholes as
Bleaching
well.
our assholes.
Have you ever done that?
No.
I'm really afraid to put bleach on.
I have a cute asshole. Please.
I
don't
know you do it professionally. You don't just put bleach on your. Don't.
There are people
that-
who do at-home jobs, and it just
That
doesn't turn
is
out well.
dangerous.
No.
That's how you get burns.
But there are also people who will apply products to
Lighten?
redden up or lighten
swollen it, yeah.
their things. And a lot of this comes from porn.
If you don't like the color, just close your eyes.
And there's this idea that this is how you should groom your genital areas to be attractive to other people.
Right.
Regardless of whether A, you enjoy it, B, you like doing it, or C, you give a fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the perceived what you should do.
Yeah.
Right.
I think what I see nowadays a lot of times is you either need to be completely shaved, like pre-puberty shave.
Right. Full on Brazilian wax.
From the front to the back, asshole including.
Right.
Or you can have the littlest landing strip alive.
Or like a little Bermuda triangle.
Yeah.
The lips have to be clear, but the little
Yeah.
triangle at the top, little toupee. Merkin.
Yes, your merkin can only be very tiny and just the tip.
Right.
But that doesn't account for the fact that the hair is there for a reason, like a medical thing.
Yes, does keep debris and sweat and other things
Keeps
out.
things out of delicate bits and pieces.
And we could do a whole episode on grooming to micro tears and things like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I'm a waxer. I do like waxing, or I shave. I shave with a straight razor. I do not try this at home,
No.
kids.
No,
That is an expert
Learned
move.
skill.
Okay, a straight razor in general is very dangerous. You don't know what you're doing, especially on a delicate bit. I am a vagina owner. There's loose skin.
There's also a major artery.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes. So, expert move. Do not try this kid at home. I like a hairless look. I started removing hair when I was in middle school, maybe. All the girls on my cross-country team all did it, so I thought it was just a thing runners did. I don't think it is. But I just got in the habit. I like the look. I did just kind of the Bermuda Triangle bit, because in Germany, hair is really not an issue. People are hairy. People don't care. It's not something that's really you'd never hear a partner be like, "Oh, you have a hairy pussy, so I don't want to have a snack." You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Get in there,
Yeah.
Get in, move it below if you have to find the seam. I don't care, just get in there. But so it's a habit that I keep up, and also just love giving myself a straight razor shave because I feel like it's sexy.
It is.
Sometimes I let my slave
sexy.
watch, and it's a lot of fun.
Can I?
Yes, absolutely. Shave you if you let me.
Working on it.
Right, but I don't. I personally, I have no issue. I don't have a preference for partners that do or do not have hair. I prefer you to wash, but as far as whether you're clean shaven, whatever plumbing you've got, whether you're clean shaven or your own natural or you just tidy up, not huge of a preference as long as you're washed.
For so I used to just trim, bikini line kind of thing,
Yeah.
shave. Then I went a couple of years and I was waxing,
Right.
which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's quick,
it's
fun,
and
it lasts a long time.
Yeah,
Something I haven't done yet.
We'll
Want
do that
to,
too.
but I'm terrified.
we'll take you for that. But the thing that, I was doing it, but then waxing got kind of expensive and didn't fit into my budget
Yeah.
anymore.
It
It does. So I stopped doing it and I was just shaving and stuff. And again, health, it's a problem. Sometimes I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of energy. While I am hyper flexible, that is not always the easiest position to get into to
No.
make sure you get all the bits.
No.
Especially if you
It's dangerous. Yes.
And it's dangerous.
Especially if you have grip issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What can I do?
The grip issues have grown worse over time, but so I just decided to stop shaving for a while.
Yeah.
For a while turned into, I was thinking about it earlier, 2 years. It's been 2 years, not a year and a half. And for a while it was just my bush. Then I added my armpits. Well, at Christmas, no, my birthday last year.
Yes.
I was with my biological family, and I had made a mention about the fact that I didn't shave. And my cousin legitimately fell over.
Huh.
Was like completely flabbergasted and was like disgusted. How could I possibly not shave? And I was like, oh, I don't shave anything. Like tops, bottoms. The only thing I shave is like occasionally my legs, depending on like a dress that I'm wearing, if I want to.
Yeah.
But even that is kind of if I feel like it.
Right.
But they were completely like, and my cousin is only a year older than me. It's not like I was talking to somebody in like an older generation. When my mom and I talked about it, it was more just like, well, what if your boyfriend like has, or your girlfriend has an issue with it? And I was like, well, then they won't be getting in my pants.
It's still my body. Like, when it comes to personal grooming, like, I like to know what my partners prefer, because of course you want to feel sexy for them, but at the same time, like, I'm too damn tired, or I don't feel like it, or I don't like what they've asked me to do. Like, that has to be your prerogative, and that has to be limits that your partners understand.
And that's totally okay. And if they aren't okay with it, then GTFO.
Then I don't need to fuck you today, I guess.
And see, for me, I didn't know that there was this whole like preference around it. I didn't know if anyone else shaved, but for me, when I started growing hair, I have some sensory issues.
Okay.
I could not stand the way it felt, and to this day, like if I go like more than a week without shaving, like I get antsy because I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the way it feels when I touch my legs. I don't like the way it feels when my legs rub together. And so like I constantly keep clean shaven, not because I think it's sexy or I think it's what men want or other women want, but it's because I cannot handle having that body hair. So I didn't even know that there was a tie to like preferences in it from other people.
What I found really interesting is, so my cousin has 2 preteen boys. And I was literally, I looked at them and I was like, do you expect them to shave? And she was like, of course not, they're guys. And I was like, but you think it's unhygienic that I don't shave.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be more stinky than I am.
Yeah, but it's manly for them. It was very, very much like guys can have hair, but women, she literally fell off a chair. Like physically fell off the chair.
For those who cannot see me, I am rolling my eyes. Again, I'm German, so like in Europe, the shaving thing is not really. It's like, I would say younger couples like my generation, her generation, they're probably doing it more because like there's so much more immigration. It's not like Germany in particular is no longer as homogenous as it used to be culturally. So there's definitely an increased interest in body hair removal, primarily in immigrant populations, as opposed to like I would say like ethnic Germans. But like my mother, I remember being a child, and my mother never shaved her underarms. She would occasionally shave. My mother has fantastic legs, so she would occasionally shave her legs, but she also has blonde hair, so she never really had to. I don't think she really started like getting in the habit of shaving her armpits until like she met her husband, who is Scottish, and like a little like, why don't you shave? Like, women of the continent, they're so straight. Bish, 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 bish. Like, whatever his version of that was. It was a terrible rendition. I'm sorry, Pops. He will never hear this, so it's fine.
It's the internet. Someday he will.
Yeah. He's not very tech savvy. He thinks the internet is out to get him. It's fabulous.
Fair.
It's fabulous.
That's
great. It's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. But you know, even then, but she doesn't live with her husband full time.
Yeah.
Which is ideal for her. So this woman doesn't shave. She doesn't. It's a cultural thing, you know, and she doesn't. To my knowledge, I don't know if anyone here has ever been like, "Why don't you shave your underarms?" She's just like,
yeah,
I forgot. I don't know. Forgot for the last couple months. I don't know.
I have a number of wonderful partners, and no one has given me shit about it.
No,
so
your body, your choice.
It doesn't bother. You know, it doesn't. I don't know. And if body hair bothers you, you're not a bad person.
No.
Okay?
No.
I just want to be clear about that.
But
you're not a bad person. But you need to make your preferences and your issues known to partners. And you have to understand that if they're not willing or able to accommodate that cosmetic preference,
They might not be the person.
They may not be the person for you. And you guys, we've got to be okay with that. All right, we've got to ease up on some of these like mandatory things that we're putting on people because it is stressful. It's stressful. Now, on the kinky side of things, my slave shaves his everything. He shaves his legs, he shaves his underarms, he shaves his genital areas at my preference. Now, he was also a swimmer, so he was used to shaving his legs. So he was a swimmer, so he was already in that habit anyway. So I just kind of added to that. I like him that way because I like him silky smooth. I like to wear my latex, run my hands all over him, and when you have a lot of body hair,
some of the friction.
It causes friction, and like that's fun, but sometimes those are accidental ouches, and that's not as fun as intentional ouches. I also, if I'm working with a male bottom for pegging, I like them to have a clean butthole, mainly because I need to see where I'm going. Because penis owners in particular often have really, really bushy buttholes for some reason. Like they're trying to hide it, like they don't want you to know they've got a butthole back there. So sometimes it's a bit like, where pick up your balls and like where is it at, you know? So I will ask bottoms to trim, and a lot of like people that come for that service in particular, or that like they're paying for a session or something like that, they're probably already prepped, they're probably waxed, they're probably shaved, because they're used to that as a standard for a lot of pro doms. A lot of pro doms will insist on it being hairless, mainly so I can see what I'm doing. I can apply the lube, get my gloves on, do my thing, get paid, and get that.
Also, the worst is when you're pegging them and the hairs grab and pull when you push in or on the way up.
Exactly.
That is not a comfortable sensation.
Please trim your buttholes if you're going to be putting these devices into them, just for the sanity of your top.
Yes.
That I would agree with.
Yeah. So, in addition to that, the skin portions. The same way that the shape and color and density of the bush is very, very personal, but media only shows basically one version of it.
Right.
Because basically, if you have hair, you're a dirty hippie. If you don't have hair, you're a respectable woman. That's kind of what you see in the media now.
Yeah.
It's also the shape and size of the labias.
Yes, which for our friends that don't know are the dangly bits, your meat curtains, your kissy bits.
They are the fleshy pieces that are outside of the vagina.
Yes, they are, the curtains that open for their applause.
And some people have thin, long ones that kind of dangle out.
Yep.
Some have very short ones. Some have poofy ones. I think mine are...
So there's the outer and the inner.
Yes.
It's like the major and the minor.
minor.
Okay.
Yep.
So the minor, I think some people, their minor is actually longer than the majors. So if you're familiar with what a vagina looks like up close, the inner lips tend to be the really squiggly, kind of pinky ones, They
tend to be softer.
They look like roast beef. They're a bit like ribbly, and they're called meat curtains for a reason, because they do have that kind of like...
They're also called roast beef. That's one of the things.
It's kind of crinkly. Okay, this kind of like wiggly texture. They look like they should be on the inside, is what they look like. Some people's are long, and they actually extend past the outer. The outer lips are the ones that you see that are kind of like, they have the hair on them. Right. They're the outside little flaps. But some people's, we'll get to you, Kaitlyn. Some people's inner, what do you call minor in English, minor, are longer, and so they actually extend and they flap down a bit. What up, love?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I was going to wait till a later bit, but like, I personally don't know what mine look like. They're something that I have avoided because my mons and like my mound is very big, and so like if I'm bent over from the front,
poofy pussy.
Yeah, and so if I'm bent over from the front, I've actually been told it looks like I have balls.
No,
and
she does not.
But it's something that scares me to look at. So like, I have pictures of my pussy because I sell them.
Right.
But I take the picture and I send it. I don't look at it. I don't study it. I probably couldn't tell you what it looks like.
So for your homework.
Oh, God.
We're going to put you in front of a mirror and you're going to paint yourself a self-portrait.
No.
Artist skills are not necessary. They're just,
Like, I know that I believe I do have a smaller, like, inner...
Well, your outers are quite puffy, so it's covering. Even if you did have longer minor, is it minor?
the interior ones are the minor.
Yeah, minor's the. I'm sorry, my English.
It's okay.
That maybe it's covered regardless. You know, my interiors are smaller, so even though my the major sides are not so prominent on mine, my pussy is actually quite featureless when you look at it. Like if I stand up straight, you just see straight through. There's a little peek hole. You don't see anything. And I always felt like I was missing bits because I would see other girls that had more prominent lips and things like that. I'm like, do I sit wrong? Like, did I flatten it by accident? Like all that bicycle riding I do, I don't know. So
I'm so out of touch
which is
with the
why
feminine anatomy.
no, but I'm saying which is why, Kaitlyn, it is so important to be familiar with your own body, not just so that you're comfortable knowing what you look like, but it's also good medically to know. So if something changes, discoloration, because you can get things that there can be cancers of the labia, of the clitoris, you know, externally you can notice changes, different things like that, like a color distortion, things like that. So it's good to know what you look like downstairs, at least on a regular basis, especially if you're not seeing a professional on a regular basis. If you're not seeing an OBGYN, you should know what you look like in the interim in case things change. But also so that you have like an emotional familiarity with yourself. Because what upsets me a lot is a lot of vagina owners are embarrassed about talking about their vaginas, about touching their vaginas, and God forbid, seeing their vaginas. They're like, oh my God,
It's perverse, don't you know?
Yeah, it's your body.
That,
It's like,
though.
I highly encourage people to do it because it's definitely one of those things. And my mother, who specializes in sexual therapy, and she's a psychologist. This is what she does professionally. It's actually one of the things she prescribes people is that exact thing. Literally, get a mirror and self-portrait.
It was a really popular thing in like the 70s.
Yes.
To like the 60s and 70s to get like connected with yourself. Yeah. But it ties into the shame about it, ties into the fact that women aren't supposed to be. You're not a sexual creature.
Yeah.
And you know,
you're here for pleasure of the man, and only he may make you sexual.
Right.
Which is hilarious because your body is only here to like birth children and take care of houses, yet you over sexualize my breast that is feeding your child.
Right. So
like,
are they bottles or are they play toys for you?
Right. It's very strange.
It's true. But definitely get to know yourselves and penis owners too. I mean, you guys can see yours more because you have an external genitalia. It's out more about, but again, for medical purposes, fondle your balls. And I mean that truly because the testicular cancer is a sneaky thing. And if you don't know what your ball sac, the density, the weight, anything like that, color changes around the head or the shaft, the places where all this connects, you need to be aware of these things just as much as we do. Now, we also look because we can't see it. Yeah. And so you have an advantage that it's out and about, but take care of yourselves. We love you guys.
One thing that I really think is so we have this idea, and a lot of individuals are going out and getting reconstructive surgery to try to fit that ideal.
Right.
But I think something that's helping now is the rise of amateur porn and professional cam
sites. Yeah.
Because on cam sites, you didn't get hired to do a specific role for a specific porn. You're just on there doing your thing, and people can come. I know that I felt as a performer, I definitely get people who were super excited about the fact that I had body hair. Right. That they come to my channel for that. They're going to be so sad because I've recently decided randomly to shave my underarms. I'm like,
they'll be like, they have to wait. You have to wait. You can watch it grow back.
But yeah,
stay tuned.
And like that's a really cool thing. And honestly, I think starting into cam work and like amateur porn, selling videos and stuff was a really big thing for like the turn of like my body positivity, because I noticed myself not trying to suck in as much because I got more tips when I didn't suck in. I got more tips as that natural, like, I have rolls. I'm not necessarily falling into like the BBW category. I'm a little bit too skinny for that.
Like that is my territory.
I'm like, so I tried to model, and like my biggest thing was I was too fat to be a normal model, but I was too skinny to be a BBW. And there is no in between really right now.
And I'm at that same point. So I'm big.
Yeah, but I'm not
still
small. big enough to
big-
be like
yeah.
true BBW.
When you look at like the BMI, my weight versus height, I am grossly morbidly obese.
Same.
Reality is, I'm definitely not grossly morbidly
Right.
obese.
Are you short as well?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You are her height. It would be different.
Well, like, and even for me, like, I have started to acknowledge that I do have a thinner body type, especially for my height. But on BMI, I am still considered morbidly obese, which is a big issue for me because that's what they stress in high school is,
Jokes on you guys. Me too.
right?
And also,
I don't feel morbidly obese.
BMI is
BMI
trash.
doesn't take in the gender. It doesn't take in
Muscle.
the fact I have like 15 pounds of breast meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can we just call out American, like, middle schools and high schools for, like, when they do your weights and measurements for BMI and they just yell them out to the entire class?
Fuck them.
And so, like, you know, they go through all the kids. They're like, oh, you're so pretty. You're 100 pounds. Oh, you're so pretty. You're 100 pounds. Oh, you're 150 pounds.
That's
Like, that
child
was
abuse.
me. That was me.
No
Like,
wonder we got issues.
Right? Like, oh,
But I
fuck
think-
America.
But I think what we've got.
Just gonna say it.
I think, but in conclusion, Kaitlyn, drink your whiskey, Kaitlyn. In conclusion, I think we've only scratched the surface. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't even get to.
No.
we didn't get to half the things on our list.
We didn't get to
There'll be another
melanin
episode.
amount. We didn't get to physical disabilities or we didn't get to. Look, this could go on for days. We were only speaking really from our personal experiences because that's we're experts in us, and you know we certainly don't want to speak for other marginalized groups because we're not those groups.
And in the future, we'll bring in individuals who
Yes.
are from those other perspectives,
Yeah.
and have these conversations with them about
Absolutely.
their experience and things that they have seen or heard.
when you are in your element, when you are having fun, when you are relaxed, and when you're around people that you trust and that you love and you feel safe with, a lot of these issues disappear, even if it's just momentarily. And that is the time that we need to cherish. We're always going to look
Absolutely.
back as a human being and we're going to critique ourselves because we are our worst critique, for sure. But I think it's something that my late grandmother always used to say to me, is no matter what, you've got to strut.
Say that in German, because I know she didn't say it in English, please.
English. We know all my bad.
No, actually she did.
Oh!
She heard it from Elvis Presley.
She did have Elvis.
She stole it from Elvis Presley. But it all stands forward because they always say you're even nervous when you do performances. It's like no matter what, you've got to strut.
All right, and with that,
Remember,
trouble comes in three.
and get fucked.